This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
English language is one of the most widely used languages in the whole world, even though there are many languages. As much as all the other languages are important for various reasons, the English language is important because it helps in uniting the whole world. Consequently, most parts of the world today are united because many people have learned to communicate in English. The issues of languages have a long history. For instance, the story of the Tower of Babel has many similarities with the current situation that is facing the English language. While English is becoming popular and important, other local languages are vanishing as the days go by. Therefore, the issue of English becoming an international language and the preservation of other languages has become the subject of discussion. With that background in mind, this paper focuses on the English language, its importance, as well as the advantages and disadvantages of multiple languages compared to having one single language. Some applications of the English language and other languages can be derived from reading the story of the Tower of Babel as recorded in the book of Genesis in the Christian Bible. The story of the Tower of Babel came up after people who were speaking only one language united and decided to build one high tower to become famous. God was not delighted with them, and he confused their languages so that they started speaking in different languages. Due to the language confusion, they could not continue with their project, and according to the Christian Bible, many languages that are present in the world today came up due to the same. Therefore, it is clear that speaking one language is very important because it unites people so they can undertake a similar project. Some problems and conflicts in the world today result from the presence of many languages, as happened during the Tower of Babel. As highlighted earlier, other languages are important, but on a global scale, English is more important. The issue of whether the English language is a global language or not is contentious despite the fact that the majority of people in the whole world can communicate in it. In addition, most of the works in different areas, such as sciences and literature, have been written in English since the authors target meeting a large audience. On the same note, it is important to point out that most of the works that were originally written in other languages are usually translated into English. As a result, one of the authors concluded in the future, all the world literature would be referred to as the English language. It is quite true that there is widespread use of the English language in the world today, but as highlighted earlier, it's unclear whether English will becoming a global language. Various studies have indicated that the majority of the world is learning and being taught to speak in English. However, it is important to mention that the number of people speaking a particular language is not the determining factor. The study illustrates that the economic and military power of the speakers are usually the most important determining factors. More specifically, the study explains that military power helps establish the language, while economic power helps expand it. Therefore, English may become an international language not only based on the military power of its speakers, but also on their economic power. Although one language has some advantages, it is important to preserve other languages since they are important aspects of culture. According to the Endangered Language Fund, about 1,000 languages are spoken in the world, and it is projected that about half of languages may disappear in the 21st century. Therefore, it is important to prevent those languages' failure to which they may become extinct. There are both advantages and disadvantages of having multiple languages in the world. The story of the Tower of Babel clearly illustrates that having multiple languages leads to misunderstanding, which may eventually lead to conflicts. Language is an important aspect of communication, and failure to understand other people not only leads to conflicts, but also a lack of harmony. People speaking a similar language may conflict, but it is worse when people speak different languages. Secondly, having multiple languages is disadvantageous in view of the fact that it calls for people to learn and to be taught other foreign languages. Additionally, learning other languages needs not only money but also a lot of devotion. Currently, people who are learning foreign languages are very few, indicating that it is not as easy. Translation and localization of products also require additional finances. Therefore, the costs involved in preserving multiple languages, as well as the conflicts that emerge from the same, are some of the most important disadvantages of having multiple languages. In view of the fact that language is an important aspect of culture, it is quite advantageous to have multiple languages since they mark cultural diversity. As much as human beings have had many inventions, studies of the divide indicate that of all the human inventions, language is the greatest. There are several things concerning culture that can only be learned and preserved by local languages, which are inclusive but not limited to customs, beliefs, norms, and cultural values. Therefore, having multiple languages is very important because it helps in preserving the cultural heritage, which has been developed for many centuries. Apart from that, since the same creates cultural diversity, it can lead to meaningful cultural competition, which may be very beneficial. The essay has indicated that there are both advantages and disadvantages of multiple languages compared to a single language. Currently, most of the languages are vanishing due to the emergence of international languages, which are becoming very popular. English is an important language in the whole world, although the issue of whether it is an international language or not is contentious. However, based on its speakers, it is clear that the language is quickly turning out to be important on a global scale. Most of the English speakers are from the Western world, like the Americans, and they are powerful not only politically but also economically. A study of history indicates that the international languages that existed in the past, like Latin and Greek, are marked by political and economic power. Therefore, if the current trend continues, English will become an international language. Did you like this, The Effects of Globalization on English Language Learning sample? To get more works like this one, make sure to check out the database of academic paper examples at ivpanda.com. You will find thousands of samples for all your study needs.